I'm Dana Austin, and this is Next Level Awareness. Okay, so welcome to our New Year's Day episode. We're going to talk about goal setting a little bit today because it's a new year and everybody's thinking about goals and what you want to do with the new year. And it's funny how many people I've talked to in the last couple of weeks who have kind of said the same thing about how their 2022 went. And I think for a lot of people, it was a foundational year and maybe they didn't do as well as the year before, or, for whatever reason, they had, other things come up this year. And I think that, that's not a bad thing, right?
But there may have been a lot of transition that has, happened since 2 years, that whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking people had to kind of get back up on their feet and get rolling in the right direction. So anyway, and here we are at the end of it.
Yeah.
End of 2022 and entering into 2023, which as an astrologer is going to have a whole lot of surprises, but that's for another podcast. It slips in there. Who knows?
Oh no, I think everything ties together, but I was preparing a talk about goal setting for my one of our team trainings the last couple weeks, and one of the things that I was getting it ready, and my kids were here in the office with me, and my son just happened to come in for something, and my daughter was sitting here working on her last bit of school, getting everything ready, and I was asking them, they're 16 and almost 18. And I was asking if they had ever been taught in school anything about goal setting, and they're fresh. I don't remember necessarily anybody teaching me how to set goals or do anything with my, I don't remember anybody ever really saying, aside from asking you, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Yeah. That's about the one that they get asked most of all, but it's kind of a joke too.
But nobody teaches you how to get there.
I know it.
So that was kind of one of the foundational questions I was asking is who's ever been taught goal setting? And
I don't think they've ever done anything like that in school.
Not really.
Not any of the real practical things that people really need to know about.
Yeah.
Too. It's kind of a shame. But I do believe in goal setting because I think what you put your mind to, what you put in your focus there, is what you'll eventually going to manifest and create in your life.
Right.
The universe is a very sensitive system. And interestingly enough, if you intend, this is my life, and I also tell people, the best way to do this, instead of saying, I want something, because that doesn't always work, it puts you in a perpetual state of wanting. The best thing to do is see yourself the way you want to be.
Yeah.
Go ahead, set those goals, okay? It might get down to the fine print, like, well, how much money do I want to make a year? How much of my personal time am I going to let my business take over or eat up? What about my health? How am I going to deal with situations and do them correctly and not have a lot of upset people that I'm working in cooperation with and all those kinds of things. But most of all, it's finding out what your heart desires the most. And I think as far as careers go, that's the thing that you have to listen to. In my case, it was already done, wrapped up, and ready to roll. For others, and especially you, who's I really feel that you've got a knack for this stuff. You're very good at it. It's like a natural thing. And not only that, I was a person, remember, who didn't know, what I wanted to do with my finances. And you were able to come in and give me a hand with that. And it was wonderful. It was like a miracle happened.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we have to ask ourselves those questions of what do we want, but we also have to ask what we don't want. And,
well, you have to consider that, there's the light and then there's the shadow aspect of it. Yeah, we want to manifest this. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to look like. This is how much I want to make, yada, yada. And then you find out after that it's killing me. I mean, I desired all of this stuff, but I don't have time for my family.
Right.
I never get enough sleep. My stomach feels like it's tied in knots half the time, and I'm getting tired, and I can't. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to somebody yesterday and I was kind of telling them a little bit about my story of how I've made some significant life changes in the last 10 years or so. And actually it is 10 years, almost exactly. And, and it started with a picture, and just a picture that somebody had snapped of me. And I was, I wasn't ready for it. I was kind of like shocked when I saw it, and I could see just everything that was wrong was there in that picture.
Okay.
And
Observant.
and I kind of had woken up one day and thought, how did this get to be my life? And there's no real answers to that. You start out with your life and you're just trying to pay the bills, and you're just trying to get through the day and
trying to figure out your partner and
then 10 years later you wake up and you go, boy, this isn't exactly what I thought my life would be when I'm 35. And then and it's just like, I guess I was younger than that, but whatever, still. But then I was like, well, if I keep going the way I'm going, if I just keep living the way I've been living, I'm still going to be in this same position 10 years from now. It's a little like
selling yourself down the river just to keep the peace. And usually that doesn't even work.
No, and I think that, I started out with goals. I started out with things I wanted to do when I was young, and I wanted to go to school, and I had ideas of where I wanted to get to, and it kind of became this, I got a good job with good benefits, and that wasn't my ideal occupation. I really didn't like it at first, and I got sucked in by the money being good.
Of course.
It's good money and it's good benefits. And then so, but I seriously woke up one day and I was in pain the majority of the day, because the physical stuff had just taken a toll. I was out of shape because I was so tired all the time, and I didn't have time to exercise, and I couldn't even think about working out or exercising or anything. And, I had 2 little kids, and I was constantly running around after them, and, so working all day, trying to cook dinner, trying to keep the house, and just manage all the things. And I was trying to be everything to everyone and make sure that, and I literally wasn't taking time for myself at all.
And that's when you burn out.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's as simple as that. Yeah.
So I saw that picture and it just, it just was a coincidence.
Is there such a thing?
I know. Well, it was a coincidence that just happened to be New Year's Day.
That was a synchronicity.
Yeah. And, it was New Year's Day. Everybody's doing their New Year's resolutions. Right. And I thought, I have got to do something for myself. And so I went over to the gym that was on the corner by our house. And when I decided, it wasn't just I'm going to get a gym membership. It wasn't at all, because I've had the gym membership before. It didn't work.
No, you were ready for a full change.
I went down there and I met with a person and I said, I'm getting a personal trainer. Right. And at the time I didn't really know. So I don't actually recommend just going down to the gym and getting a personal trainer like that. I mean, definitely ask a lot of questions, and maybe we'll do an episode about that, because I know personal trainers now, and I've come a long way in my knowledge of working out and health and fitness and stuff like that. And it's super important to have the right trainer. But for me, it was all about I need something to change my mindset. And so it was insanely expensive. I'm not used to spending money on myself. And when I say insanely expensive, it's probably, for some people wouldn't be, but for me in my position at the time, I looked at it as, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this, and
I'm actually supporting myself for a change.
Yeah. I mean, I felt guilty getting my hair done. Yeah, so that's the type of, mentality that I had at the time when it came to doing things for myself. And so I went down there and I was committed. I was at the point where I'm like, I'm so sick and tired of feeling sick and tired all the time.
Yes.
And I don't want to be like this in 10 years because if I don't do something now, in 10 years, it's going to be a lot worse. And so I signed a contract for a full year. And I said, I'm going to commit to doing this, and I'm locked in, so I can't back out of it. And I'm going to, commit to myself. And so, with the help of my trainer, but also by the fact that I started really studying stuff, and I kind of got, maybe some people would say a little too obsessed with focusing on my health. But my health that needed to come first.
Well, I need to interject something right here. There's an old saying that if your environment doesn't love and support you, it'll eventually kill you.
Yeah.
And that is very true. And once again, as an astrologer, I look at that 6th house in those 12 houses, right? In the 6th house, it's a double house because it has to do with health and your everyday work routine. So it's very simple. If what you're doing is not the right place, it will in fact make you sick.
Yeah,
it'll bring you down. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't really serve two masters,
right?
And if you start doing something because the money is good, but have forgotten about yourself, that's not going to work out,
right? Yeah. So I decided, you know what, I've got to do this, and I started working out, and I started, eating better.
Yeah.
But I actually wrote down my goals, and this is where, the goal setting part of it comes in.
Yes.
Is, well, you have to know. Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many, you can see so many things out there that say, you have to start with the end in mind.
Yes.
Right. And you have to know where you want to end up.
Right.
So if you want to, it's not just, I want to get healthy,
mm-hmm.
and I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay, fine. Okay. So you've got an actual goal of 30 pounds.
Yes.
But you also have to have a time set to where, ideally, if you do any research on working out and health and fitness and stuff like that, they say that the healthiest way to lose weight is to focus on losing about 2 pounds a week.
Okay.
Because it takes time to do that. You can't expect to lose 10 pounds your first week.
It becomes more permanent.
Right. Yeah. And so your body has time to adjust, and you're going to fluctuate a lot because of all kinds of different things. And so you have to focus on, you can't weigh yourself every day because that'll drive you crazy.
I don't think they want you to weigh yourself every day.
No, I mean, I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I'll weigh myself every 2 weeks, sometimes every month. I don't typically, focus on the daily thing, because that does drive me nuts. Even though I know personally from all the times that it drives me crazy. Yeah. Like I know that the number on the scale for me is meaningless.
Okay.
All it is just a connection to my mind and if I'm going the right way.
Well, that shows a lot of will when we finally get to the point where we're actually able to transform our physical body, which is probably the toughest to deal with, because you've got all your natural systems and it's not really mind over matter, but it's really about finding that goal, being determined, following your heart. And the cool thing about doing that, and I mean, you're out of your comfort zone at this point. I remember the first time I ever got really serious about being in some kind of a fitness situation or working with a group. And it just so happened that when I finally made this determination, I'm not going to live that long. If I need to get stronger, and found a step class. And the first time I went to the step class, I didn't think I was ever going to get through that hour. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so out of breath, blah, blah, blah. By the end of that week, I was stepping with the best of them. I was able to do the entire thing. And man, when I came out of that place, I felt like I was queen of the world. I mean, I felt so strong. I felt like something had really boosted me. And I think you do. I think it does release endorphins and stuff. But I mean, I was just beside myself because I'd set a goal and I made it. And now I can even take that goal and set it further and
Yeah.
make that.
Yeah.
You can basically do anything you put your
Yeah.
mind to, you know, really, if you believe it.
Right. Well, and I've heard people who say, you know, I had 80 pounds to lose and I started with 5.
That's
you know,
how you do it.
And you start with smaller goals and you go, okay, I'm just going to lose 5 pounds. I'm going to concentrate on this 5 pounds. And then once I do that, you know, then they just it was 5 pounds at a time that they focused on losing. And eventually, you know, they were able to lose over 100 pounds. And that's amazing. And, you know, we're talking about goal setting. It's so easy to relate to health and fitness goals because that's what, I mean, most people understand at some point in our lives. I mean, we grew up with gym class and PE. And when you stop being active as an adult, you know, that's why they call it the freshman 15.
Yes.
That's why they say everybody gains 15 pounds your first year of college because people stop being active so much. You know, you start studying and you're constantly sitting in desks and eating and, you know, and not moving as much. So, you know, for a lot of people, that's the thing. And it just seems like a lifelong battle. But, you know, really, we're here to talk about setting other goals so that you'll actually be able to change your life and make some progress. And you know what, if you love your life and it's awesome and you wake up every day and you're just like, you know, this is everything I ever wanted, then hey, don't think we're trying to force you to
rock the boat.
I mean, whatever. If you love it,
then you must have a system
keep doing
that
what
works.
you're doing. You
Absolutely.
know, so we're here to talk to people who really want to make life changes and how do you even start? Because it can be really overwhelming to think.
It can be overwhelming, and it can also be
things.
hard to stick to because you're really setting your own agenda.
Yeah.
And let's say before you decided to do this, you would just get too loose about things. You would want to have time to get your house all cleaned up and do your grocery shopping and still have time with the kids and work and all that kind of stuff. But people get tired, things don't work out, all that kind of stuff. It's easy to kind of fall by the wayside. What I admire with you is that your goal was to be completely debt free. Okay. And you might want to mention the fact that you made these visuals, made these charts and could actually see how the debt, and with your partner too, how that was getting lower and lower and lower because you're paying off a vehicle.
Yeah.
What a great feeling. Yeah, you might have to cinch things in a little bit, but nobody missed a meal for crying out loud.
Oh, no. And we had
hard.
a great time doing it. And part of why we did the posters was to track what we were doing, but also so that our kids would be able to see because they were younger.
Excellent.
And they, you know, they wanted to kind of be involved in the process.
Right.
But also, you know, it helped everybody stay on track. And then they could see that we were getting so close to our goals.
Exactly.
And they knew what was going to happen. So like we had a reward, you know, of the fact that once we got our house paid off and we had our emergency fund saved up and then we had, you know, our down payment saved up, we were going to be able to buy a house.
Yes.
Because at the time we were renting and it was a really little house and we were all kind of crammed in this little, but we were kind of, you know, everybody felt like they were on top of each other. So we were in this little house and they were looking forward to the fact that we could buy a bigger house and we wanted to do it the right way and not rush into it. So it all worked out really well. And so you do have to write things down. I think I'm a firm believer in when I write things down, I make a lot more progress. And so, you know, you write your big goal and then you have to back into it and go, okay, well, what do I need to do to get to there? And sometimes, you know, if you set a deadline, it's 6 or 8 months out, you need to go, okay, well, what do I need to do this month to start working toward that goal? And so I think those are the important questions you have to ask is what are the steps that I need to take to get to that point? And, you know, because there's so many things that we can want to do in our lives, like, you know, get a degree or learn something new or get a new job or anything. And certain things you want to do. Maybe you want to change careers. but you need certain certifications or things that go
Correct.
along with that.
And you might just be in a state of wishful dreaming kind of about it. But unless you take those steps, A, B, C, D, you'll just be doing that alone, just dreaming about it. Yeah, it's never ever going to become a reality. When you determined, okay, God gave me a will, and it's my duty to use it. You see that, and you know that's where you want to aim. That's what you want to go for. It doesn't. What I have noticed is that it gets easier when you're thinking about the big plan. You're thinking, "Oh man, I don't know. I don't know if I could back away from that, or I don't know if I could discipline myself to do this or." Well, you won't know until you do it. But if you do it right, you're going to be proud of yourself for doing it. That's like a shot in the arm. You know, that's what really helps you to get there. You're happier. The people around you will be happier. It all works together. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I think that, once you hit your goal, you've got to be prepared for the next goal, because you don't want to get lazy and just go, okay, well, now I made it. Now what?
I have never gotten to that state in my life ever. I think wasn't something more.
Yeah. Well, I think once you start setting those goals, because if we go back to what I was saying before, is I had just kind of gotten to this point where I was like, how is this my life? And I don't remember ever deciding that this is what I wanted to do, or this is how I wanted my life to be. And then I started asking myself all these questions about, where do I want to go? What do I want to be?
And sometimes that's a tough call.
It is. It's a very tough call. And so, it was like with my physical fitness and stuff, it was, what do I not want to have happen, which was driving me towards my goal of, I didn't start out to lose 40 pounds. I started out to get healthier. I wanted to feel good. So the weight thing kind of came along with it. And it wasn't, for me, that goal wasn't so much tied to the number as it was tied to the feeling. But there's definitely a lot of different aspects to a goal, and you need to look at a lot of those different things. So I was teaching people about SMART goals. So there's an acronym for goal setting.
So in other words, something that's not so far off the charts that it's going to be impossible to reach.
You need to be able to measure that. You have to write things down.
Yes.
It does have to be achievable. So, you can't just go, well, geez, I make, $40,000 today. I want to be $100,000. Well, actually 100 is pretty achievable. But you can't go, I want to be at 250 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
there's usually going to be smaller steps to get there.
When I win the lottery.
Right? And winning the lottery is kind of let's not go there.
No, I know. It's
that's a whole conversation all by itself, I think.
Know it.
But then the next thing, the R in SMART, is relevant. It has to be a relevant goal. It has to be something that actually makes sense for you.
Well, and hopefully it's making you a better person. It's making you more consciously aware of what's the right direction to go to, because you're learning as you're on the path too.
Yeah.
And yourself.
Well, and you don't want to set yourself a goal that's someone else's goal.
No.
It doesn't make sense for you, because if it doesn't have meaning for you, then you're not going to want it bad enough to actually go for it. I mean, it's just because, people do that all the time though. They see someone else who's doing something and they think, oh man, I'd really like to have that. Or I'd like to do that. Or I think that, that's a really cool thing. And, maybe it's not for you. Maybe you just got to find your own way.
All the time, I said, figure out what you love to do.
Yes.
Once you figure out what it is that you love to do, even though it doesn't seem financially feasible in the beginning, the universe will come back and will end up paying you, because the universe really wants to support us in being all that we can be.
Right.
And because everything is connected, you're putting out a whole lot of subconscious kind of stuff that other people pick up on until you finally recognize the fact that the subconscious really rules things.
Yeah.
It's a great deal more powerful than the conscious mind, which thinks they're the boss, right? But that's not really the truth. And that's why people are in therapy for sometimes a long time, because what they needed to do is go back in, coax some of those belief systems through the subconscious in order to be able to release them.
Yeah.
So you don't want these little things that are, you've got things going, you're gaining a little momentum, you feel like you're on your way, and then suddenly, boom, you land in this mud hole and you can't go any further. Well, usually it's something that still doesn't believe in yourself. In other words, that you're doomed to be a failure and things like that. So I think one way of reaching your goals is really look at any weaknesses that you can think of. Maybe somebody told you were stupid when you were 12 or something, and you believe them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you really need to reevaluate, who am I? And am I just a product of everybody else, how I was taught? But I've got to find my core self. And when I ask that core self what it wants to do, then that's going to be it. That's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, and like you just said, the limiting beliefs.
Oh,
we all have
goodness.
We all have
Terrible.
some kind of limiting beliefs in our lives that we think that we can't do something. And every time our subconscious tells us that we can't do something, it's just another hit against.
And that again, by having that happen though, if we're awake, we can go back and we can follow that in. Okay, so maybe it's more than just surface level. Move back into it. If you can, ask for the grace of God to give you the wisdom to figure out when that happened. When did I turn against myself? When did I start not believing in myself or that I could do this or that? Follow that back. Use some meditation. Spend a little time in prayer. Ask someone who's, a therapist or something, maybe see them for a short amount of time. Get in there and start digging. Some of the things you were talking about, first and foremost, the goals that you set that you want to step into. Let's just, here's the frame and we're stepping into it. We're not seeing it 10 years. We're seeing it as the next step. All of these are just super important. And so being in the nature of my work, I taught a women's circle group for about 25 years. And we always did a group meditation. And it was always wonderful. Mm-hmm. I mean, to have, it could be 12 people, it could be 10, could be 15, could be 20. To have everybody kind of participate together. The room was just filled with light and people were getting answers to things and all kinds of wonderful things going on. But I did get into this system. It's called intention. Your intentions, doing that kind of work of manifesting them. And because kind of go with the rhythm of the moon, it's a good thing to do maybe a circle or a little ritual or doing something that makes sense to you, it's like your way of saying, okay, universe, this is the next thing. This is the picture.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for that to all manifest. And it could already be manifested in the ethers, in the finer dimensions or whatever. But we want to bring that into form. So, being determined about doing that. So when I would have them write their intentions, usually a good time to start is at the new moon. And a lot of times things kind of come to a crescendo 2 weeks later at the full moon, which gives us an ability to burn those intentions, mm-hmm. Okay? And as you were saying, you need 2 columns. First of all, you're going to, insert some things that you want to see yourself accomplishing or being or that will fulfill you. But then you have another column that also are things that you need to let go of, that need to be removed, that are nothing but a cross that you drag around with you and are doing you no good whatsoever. Those are not contributing to your higher good. And sometimes it's an emotional thing when you have to either say goodbye to things or people or way of life or things like that, but you've outgrown that.
Yeah.
So there are things that you're going to want to remove and then things that you're stepping in to manifest also.
Yeah. that just made me think of, like sometimes we'll run into people who tend to have this victim mentality thinking
Oh
of,
my
of
God, that's a
my life,
loser.
my life is like this because of that person
Always
or
blaming
because of
something else.
those things that happened. And, eventually I think that, with burning those intentions and burning all that stuff, it's a way of letting go of
It's
that
meaningful.
and taking control of your life and saying, you know what, I'm choosing not to be a victim anymore.
Exactly.
That stuff that happened is just stuff that happened to me. That's not who I am.
Absolutely.
And I think
We're
that
learning every day.
It's so powerful because, it's very easy to get sucked into those. It's like a vicious circle of thoughts where you're going to bed every night thinking, why did this stuff happen to me? And you know what? There's no answers.
No,
there's really no answers.
And abundance flows. Sometimes it's ebb and sometimes it's flow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, you can get into a place where you don't have to be scared to death that, oh my God, I could be doomed, 2 more paychecks and it may be over for me because, I'm overwhelmed with it. Which brings us kind of around with the goal setting also comes discipline.
Yeah. You have to decide what you want and you have to want it bad enough to actually,
That's right.
take action on it every single day. And
every day.
I use a planner. I'm a techie person, so I use Google Calendar. I use Calendly to set appointments for myself. I use all kinds of technology based things. I use a project management tool called Asana. It's got to-do lists and it has, I could have different projects in there. It's amazing. But I also still love an actual written planner. And so the one that I use is, this is not sponsored, so this is the one I use. I love it. I first started using it last year. It's called the Manifestation Planner. Mm-hmm. And, one of my friends recommended it to me who's also in business. But I love that it has a whole bunch of pages at the beginning so you can kind of focus on what it is that you want to accomplish this year. And each month has goal pages for that month and like how you want to break it down. And, if you get a really good planner and it's you're focused on what is it that I want to do, then you can make these things really work for you because, you wake up in the morning and you look at your planner and you see what's going on for the day. You see the things that you need to accomplish, whether or not they have to be accomplished today or just sometime this week.
They will be accomplished.
Right.
And I'm stepping into that. And that whole thing then too.
Yeah. And I love, that this one has quotes and stuff and then it has your to-do list. But, there's something that a lot of people do that are very successful and it's daily affirmations.
And I agree.
I mean, if you're talking to yourself in a way, what's like a good daily affirmation for you? I'm successful or I am, whatever it is that your goal is and how you see yourself, then just tell yourself, this is who I am.
Yeah. And we're supposed to, I think the main thing about setting goals, about having affirmations, about manifestation, is to convince our subconscious that what we are stating is actually real, is actually physically happening now. Once the subconscious believes that is the truth, then it's just going to pep it up and keep it going. So, I'm not asking people to do things that seem silly or trite, but there is a whole story to this whole thing.
Yeah.
The conscious decisions are not going to come to manifestation if the subconscious doesn't believe it.
Right.
Once she believes it, then, you can just keep rolling them out.
Yeah.
But, it's all about ebb and flow also. And so I just think it's time for us to take our power back.
Yeah.
Setting goals and watching ourselves actually manifest something that maybe we wanted 20 years ago. Now we're nearing it because we can see it. It's coming into form already.
Yeah.
So you're just really building on that, and it's becoming more and more material. Okay. Yeah. Until you're actually there. Just believe it. Put everything that you've got into it. Pat yourself on the back for some of the wonderful things that you've done. And it might have been saying no to a lot of things. Maybe you couldn't go out and see your friends and party, or maybe if it has to do with your health, maybe, you just don't go by the ice cream store when you're heading home, things like that. Although you can't say no to a person over and over and over without them going crazy. I think after a while they might have to have a little fudge.
You've got to have a way to
Yeah.
reward yourself when you're doing good and when you hit certain milestones. And
Yeah.
I love the fact that I'm a firm believer in joining groups of people who have the same goals as me. So whether it's
That's support.
a workout group or something, and when it comes to working out and stuff like that, there's a way to reward yourself that doesn't involve food. Buy yourself a new piece of clothing, or go do something else. And for me, for my business, I was able to make some progress this year. So I rewarded myself with a new microphone for the podcast. And so there's just little things. I mean, it's not necessarily that I needed it, but it does work, and it's awesome.
Hard
and
work deserves some rewards.
Yeah.
Even in small ways.
Yeah.
Just a little something.
Right.
That's right.
And as long as you feel like it's something positive, then it doesn't really matter what it is. You don't, you can do different things.
I need to say one more thing before I forget it here. It's what you concentrate on in life. If you're fearful and you're always expecting something bad to happen, whether it's losing your house or you're not going to have enough, or what you concentrate on becomes your reality.
Mm-hmm.
So if a person should catch it if they say something negative about themselves. You know how that self-hate thing goes, and we're always hard on ourselves about this, that, or the other. When you find yourself saying something negative about yourself, immediately catch it. Don't let it go out there and just keep resonating, because the longer it does that, the more this becomes our reality. It becomes real.
Yeah.
So you want to see yourself as something better than what you currently are, because we're all moving into that direction. We don't have to fight with each other.
No.
We don't have to get into arguments. We can love another person even if we're not the same political buddy, or that stuff doesn't matter. It does, but the person matters more.
Yeah. We don't have to compete with other people either. And I think
I'm done competing.
It's so important to remember that, because sometimes, it's easy when you start making progress.
Yeah.
It's easy for people around you to start. I mean, it's very common for people around you to start asking questions, and then they start feeling...
They see you changing.
Yeah, they see you changing. They don't necessarily like it. They don't know what it's about. And sometimes, they can seem unsupportive because they are worried that you're going to leave them or something, or that, they just don't know. They don't know what
if you lose too much weight.
They get threatened if you're doing too good in business sometimes, and you can meet other business people who will feel threatened by just certain things. And
I know.
And so it can be sticky, but you have to just stick to your guns. I mean, you really got to stick. You got to stick to yourself. You have to trust yourself. You have to make sure that you know and understand where you're headed, and don't worry so much about those other people, because if you're threatening them, then they've got other problems.
I think once you really get into the flow of things, once you have stirred that passion and your will now is directly linked, and you move into that, it gets easier and easier
so much
and easier.
It is.
Everything begins to flow.
Right.
It just glides you where you want to go. I mean, I'm not saying life doesn't have some potholes in it, because you do, because we're with other people too. I mean, that'll, affects us, but still in all, to be in charge of your life is to live a happy life.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's not everything happening to you.
No, that's just it. Yeah, you're in charge.
Reality.
Yeah. And it's when you start happening to things and you start changing things, and, you're making your life happen.
And what a feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's when you get to a place where people would say, I wish I was her, I wish I was him, I think that when you get to that place, you don't want to be anybody else but yourself, because you love yourself.
No, and then
you've done
And then you just stop caring what other people think.
It doesn't matter because you're beyond all that.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
You just got to do your thing.
Stupid.
And it's it's such an amazing feeling because that's kind of how, I've gotten to that point and I really, I want to help people, but I understand I can only help people who want to help themselves. And
even Jesus said that, not everybody can be healed.
No, not everyone can.
No, because they need their illness for whatever lessons they're learning in life.
Yeah. So it can be frustrating. Everything can be, there's times when you feel like you're beating your head against a wall.
I know.
Sometimes people don't listen. But you just gotta, it's one foot in front of the other and you just keep moving and you just keep trying to get, and
don't take it personal if they say no, because they weren't meant to be part of this situation in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I love, what it's always there. A year from now, if you have even gotten halfway to your goals,
oh yeah,
do you know you're so much farther than you are today?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, you have already rescued yourself, and things can only get better, because the other way of looking at it is just live for today, forget about tomorrow. Well, tomorrow might come with some problems.
Yeah.
And like the ant, you didn't have anything to eat when winter came.
Right.
Not the ant, it was the grasshopper. That's right. The grasshopper and the ant. The ants prepared all year long so they would have a nice, warm, cozy winter, and they could have plenty to eat, and the grasshopper just played. But then we find out he was one sad grasshopper after that, because
that, that really makes me think of this argument that I hear all the time. It's out there everywhere. And I mean, it comes up in so many conversations that I have. And so there's it's like you've got this conflicting thing, right?
Okay.
You've got the people who are like, well, I might, tomorrow's not promised, so I've got to do everything I can today because I might not live to see tomorrow or whatever. And then you've got the people who are like, well, I don't want to do anything today because I've got to prepare for later, right?
Yeah.
And you have to find a balance.
Absolutely true.
And the principle that Adam and I have lived by, and this is just what we try to keep in mind, is we prepare like we're going to live forever.
Sure.
Because who knows?
Right.
I mean, people are living longer and longer. The fastest growing age group today is people turning 100.
Yeah, really?
More. Yes.
Wow.
And so, I mean, and that right there will just blow your mind. It's like, oh my gosh, all these people are living, because life expectancy tables are based on a lot of things, and they include like infant mortality and people dying young that shouldn't, so people are really actually living longer and longer, and there's so many things out there. And so you have to prepare as if you're going to live a long time.
I
and
agree.
You're going to need all this money, and that's, where the retirement stuff comes in. But also, but we also have to prepare like we might die tomorrow, because life isn't promised.
That's right.
And we live in an area where there's just horrible drivers. There's accidents every day,
every morning,
and it's just heart-wrenching when you turn on the news. I don't even like to watch the news anymore, because you're always hearing about somebody getting hit or accidents, and so it's the craziest, most dangerous thing we do every day. And yet, people go out there, do it. But you have to love people. You have to tell them you love them. You have to act like this might be the last time I ever see you.
That's why I'm such a mush, because when I get ready to hang up the phone or finish a text or something, I always tell them I love them.
Yeah.
Because what if I don't have the chance to tell them I love them?
I mean, we hope we do, and usually we do.
But still.
So, but and you can't let that rule your life either.
No.
The idea that, oh my God, I could die any second. You know what? That is life. I mean, that's just, it's a given that we're not promised tomorrow.
That's true. But in the meantime,
we have to appreciate it. We have to prepare, and so this is what, I mean, there's a whole other episode, but, you have to get your affairs in order so that if something does happen to you, that your family's taken care of. So, but with your goals and stuff too, it's like, don't not go for your goals or what you want because you think, oh, well, what's the point? You know? but at the same time, just go for it. Try to change your life. See what happens.
I think that's one of the smartest things anybody has ever come up with, because I think we have so much more power than anyone has any idea. And there are things that human beings can do that will astound everybody. I mean, if you want a goal that's physical, all right, you work on that. If you want something monetary, then you work on that. If you want to find your joy in life, and maybe it has something to do with your art or your special talent or something like that, you have to keep using it. You can't give up. Life is going to throw pies in your face, often enough. But
well,
you
not
just
everyone
wipe it
is going to
off,
care,
and then you learn how to kind of dodge them.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone is going to care about your thing,
Right.
And that can be frustrating too when you feel like you're doing something, especially art. We're putting something out there, and it's from your soul, and you want to share it with people.
It's been sad in my experience with certain clients and stuff who wanted, to make it to Broadway, wanted to, have their music become something that will be well known, or whether it's acting or any kind of other kind of things, or even as an artist. You just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, you keep doing it because you never know when the timing is going to be right.
Exactly.
Because, I keep talking to people, and, I'll talk to the same person 5, 6, 7 times over the span of, for 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
And one time it's
sparks.
Like, oh my gosh, I need to know this, you know? And so it's really all about timing. It's not our timing.
Right.
It's always, it's never on our time. It's always when the time is right.
But we got to be ready.
Yeah.
When the opportunity hits, man, you just want to be ready to roll with it. And the universe works in mysterious ways. I will tell you that. Just when you think you might be down on your luck, then something comes in. That phone call comes, or you get a letter in the mail, or something happens. And I mean, it's all, your reality is going to reflect what you believe, what you think, what you believe. Because this universe is made from thoughts. It's made from the power of communication, and it's what you see. That's what this reality is based on. So it's all kind of cool, man. And anybody, if you have the will to do it, can use it. It's a great technique. And once you get over maybe a couple of the humps in the beginning of, well, maybe I don't have any extra money this month to do these other little special things, it's okay. Go without for 6 months, and then you can have a lot more.
Oh yeah,
and it's going to be so much better, and you're not scared to death.
Yeah, it's all temporary.
That's what is they talk about? People are only 2 paychecks away from disaster or something like that. There's something.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, the average American now has less than $1,000 in their savings account.
And that's not nothing. I'm sorry, but that's you have a big expense come your way. You're gonna have to. You're gonna be moving and scratching and rolling and trying to figure out a way. I don't personally want to have to feel that way.
No,
I don't want to have to feel fearful. So by planning and making sure that savings gets fed something too, no matter how small, right? Make sure that something goes in there.
Well, I think the other thing that that just hit me too is 40 to 50% of Americans have no retirement savings.
Yeah,
and I mean that's a big deal. You got to start thinking about that young, because the younger you are when you start, the less money it takes every month to do
and
it.
You could be wealthy.
So anyway, I know I have some major goals this year, and I'm guessing you have some pretty big goals this
I've got
year.
A couple of them,
And I'm starting to actually get my new planner for the year. I get it tomorrow, and I'll be setting that up this weekend. So I'm, I've been working on goal setting for the new year for probably about a week or so or more. And, I've got several different goals, and they're not conflicting, I think, but they're not all the same focus either, and so it's just important to look at every different aspect of your life. And you can have relationship goals, and you can have goals of spending more time with your family or
right. And it doesn't have to be gigantic and take over your whole
it
life.
doesn't.
You do it in little increments. You begin, again, the baby steps. Okay, well, I'm going to make sure that I spend at least an hour and a half extra this week with my 3 kids or my child or my husband or whatever.
Right, be intentional. And that's, the word intentional comes up all the time.
Because it's so strong.
Because, you have to be intentional about every single thing that you do, or else, you can waste so many hours of your day.
And I've seen it happen.
Oh, yeah,
People
me too.
just keep banging their head against the wall.
I mean, I've done it myself.
Gung-ho. They're all gung-ho and can maintain that for a little while, maybe a couple of days or a week. Yeah. But after a while, they're still riding around in circles. So, they're not going anywhere.
That's where the planner comes in. I do something called time blocking also, where I actually block out specific times in my weekly schedule for specific things that I want to do, because if I, we all know it's easy to connect with a friend and go, oh my gosh, we need to have coffee sometime.
I know.
And then when does it happen?
It
doesn't happen. You have to intentionally say,
make the time.
All right, well, what's your schedule look like? What's my schedule? And let's actually set a time and a day to do this right now, so that we don't just blow it off. And otherwise you find yourself dreaming about having lunch with your friends just because you haven't seen them in 6 months, and you didn't even realize it'd been that long. But yeah, so
that could even apply to a phone call,
everything.
Or just really, and telling people, hey, I was just thinking about you.
Yeah.
I just want to send my love along. Hope everything's running well for you.
Yeah. Make sure you leave messages when you call people too. I
mean,
I think we need to get better at that. I think that as a society, you'll hear people talk about the newer generations, the younger kids.
Yeah.
My kids spend a lot of time actually on Zoom calls and FaceTime and stuff like that. So they do spend a lot of time with their friends and actually talk one-on-one. But there's a little pocket of a generation in their 20s and maybe early 30s that they don't like to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
They don't want somebody to call them and talk to them. And it's, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think that people need to practice that a little bit more, because there's nothing better than a good conversation for 20 or 30 minutes. And, it doesn't have to be super long. You can find a way to get off the phone if you're uncomfortable or you have nothing else to say. Hey, guess what? You know what? I've really got to go. I've got something that I've got to do. You just get off the phone.
I agree.
If it becomes that, but there's no better way of getting to know someone than to have in person and
it's the best gift you can give someone is your time.
Your time. Yeah.
It means more than anything to just give somebody some time.
Yeah. I think texting is so impersonal these days, and it's necessary.
Yeah. It
is necessary. I'm not saying it's not, but I think that we could be better about, the conversation and just talking. So with that, I think that we can end this today.
Sure.
If you have any goals that you'd like to share, please let us know. You can contact us and ask questions about anything. Maybe you heard something today that you'd like more information on or whatever. You can send us an email at nextlevelAwarenessPodcast.gmail.com. Sorry.
I recommend people get chart work done, the first part of the year. And if they've had it done already, well, it's time to upgrade, because there's, transits that's always going to bring new energy in. But for people that don't, I can lay down the basis, and it will help them to track certain times and places and how the energy is going to go. You can see it ahead of time.
You can be prepared.
You can dodge that part and really hit it hard, the part where you're really one with that arrow,
Right. When you know where the power's at.
That's right.
And that sounds, to me, it sounds silly sometimes to say that. But when these dates and these dates, hey, take advantage of this going on.
Because you've got the stars are aligned in your favor here.
Exactly.
And don't try to build the bridge when you've got things that are anti you accomplishing that. It's not, sometimes you hold them, sometimes you fold them, right? And it's all with that ebb and flow thing there too. So anyway, I didn't want to get off on that. I appreciate our time together, sweetheart. You're the best.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And for everyone else, Happy New Year.
Yes. Happy New Year to all. everybody out there.